Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and are you disappointed by the engine brace on your new BMW G80? That's the M3, M4, or the new M2? I know I am. Let me show you how you can improve it. All right, y'all, so let's talk about this project a little bit and the reasons why you may want to do this in your car as well. Because I tell you, coming out of my previous BMW, so my F87 M2, it had that absolutely gorgeous horseshoe carbon fiber engine brace. I loved having my hood up. It was just beautiful, and I won't lie, I've spent a bunch of time trying to figure out how to fit one of those onto my previous 4 Series. You could do it, but it's just really expensive, right? So the fact that the new S58 motor, the new M2, which is absolutely fantastic, and it is an upgrade in every single way, with the exception of the engine brace? Come on, BMW, it doesn't look good. It's just straight black metal. They've really taken a step back in appearance. And, you know, I'm rarely critical of BMW, but I'll tell you, half the time you look at the welds on the engine brace, they're not great. I'm really confused by it. BMW makes a fantastic car, and this is one of those parts that's both functional and visible when you have your hood open, and it doesn't look very good. And I don't know how anybody didn't catch this, you know, going, we came from this to this? But I'll tell you, Kies Motorsports is a fantastic way to fix that problem. They have a beautiful, adjustable carbon fiber engine brace that we're going to install today here on my M2. I cannot wait to have it installed. It is an increase in functionality and features, not only from the functions of the car, but then it looks absolutely fantastic. So let's jump in. I'll show you what it looks like, and I'm going to show you installing it into this car. So I don't normally do kind of unboxing sort of stuff first, but man, this is such a difference. It's just amazing. So made all in-house by Kies Motorsports, packaged just beautifully. They include the tools that you need to do the install. I mean, this really is an incredibly thoughtful way of doing this. They even include different bolts. So you can either put in black bolts or silver bolts, depending on what you want to do with your build. But as we pull out one of these struts, I mean, what a difference. Beautiful carbon fiber. They're adjustable at each end. This makes all the difference in the world. When you look at this, I mean, this is not great. This is a big lumpy weld, and there's big lumpy welds on both sides. I will say it was the one thing with this car that when I lifted the hood, I was like, hey, and wow. I was really disappointed, honestly. From the very first time I saw the new 2 Series or the new G80s that have this style crossbar on them, really kind of a disappointment, but we're going to fix this today. All right, so let me get this box out of the way. I'm going to show you how to take this brace out, and then we're going to improve this, and it's going to be awesome. All right, so the very first thing you're going to want to do is remove the covers from each of those corners, that corner and that corner. They have little twist locks. You just undo the twist lock and lift them up and away, and that'll allow us to remove the plastics that are over the top of the strut brace itself. Okay, so go ahead and get these off, and then we're going to get the covers on the strut brace off. All right, so let's walk you through this a little bit. I've jumped ahead and taken some of the parts out just so you can see it is really simple because I want to accelerate this process for you. So the G87 is a little bit smaller than the M3s and the M4s, so the M2 is a little bit smaller. So these covers come down a little bit lower. So you can use this guide on really any of the G80s, but if you have the M2, you're going to need to take this cover off. You've got plastic rivets here, here, and here. So just pull the center pin. You've got the cable for your adjustable suspension that comes up through this groove right here. You pull the cable out of the groove, and then you can take this cover and fit it up and out of the way. Now, you could always unplug it and then take the cover off completely, but I don't see any point in doing so. Now, you've got 4 15mm nuts, 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side. You've got a 13mm bolt here in the center. My cover's already loose on that side, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 for all those 15mm nuts. Now, at that point, it's loose, okay? So you can just reach and pull it off. So you just take this, set it safely aside, okay? And then your center is going to be loose as well if you follow the same order, right? So there is the cross brace in front. You've got the center bar, which is loose on both ends for me since I've taken the nuts off both ends. And there you go. So that's off just like that. So let me set this safely aside. Just like that, okay? So now we can get to everything that we need to get to in the engine bay and put on the new one. But this really is very simple and straightforward, okay? So let's grab the new parts and we're gonna start bolting in the new brace. All right, so next steps are really, really easy, and I've kind of half assembled one side so you can see what it looks like. So you're gonna wanna take out the center bracket, which is gonna go right here in the middle, and then you can very loosely put this 13mm bolt back in to hold it in place. Okay, so go ahead and get that in and just loosely secure that down. Now, these new brackets are absolutely directional, where they really matter which direction you put in. And if you'll notice, one side has threads on them, one side does not. The threaded side is always going to go to the back of the car. So the threaded side here, as we look over here, we go on this side. So the threaded is on this side, okay? Same thing, take the next one, threaded is here. We've got my plastic covers in the way, which I'm going to address here in a second. And then it's going to go here, facing towards the back as well, okay? So as we get this fit into place, just like that. So threaded is on the back, threaded is on the back, just like that. So go ahead and put these on. What I usually will do is I'll push them towards the back and then just snug them down with a 15mm socket. Now I don't mean tight, I mean just barely snug so they don't move. Okay, so go ahead and get all 4 of those brackets on, 1, 2, 3, 4, snug them down just nicely. Go ahead and get the center bracket on, and then we're going to be putting the big first main cross brace piece in first. All right, so you've got the longest of the 2 struts. Go ahead and make sure that the ends, because this is kind of counter screwed on both ends, so you can turn it to shorten it or lengthen it. So make sure that the ends are in as short as they'll go on both sides, okay? So then you can just take it and you decide whether you're gonna use the silver bolts or the black bolts. I'm gonna use the black in this case. So I'm just gonna take this and slide it into place, and then just very gently hand thread in one of the black bolts. Now on this end, if you look, it's too short, right? It won't actually make it, but that's okay. So what you want to do is just turn the strut, and as you'll see, it slowly lengthens until you get exactly the right length that you want, okay? So once you have that set, there we go, and now that's set in perfectly. Now the one thing you're going to want to do though, as we set in the bolt on this side, is we're going to want to put a little dab of the provided Loctite on this and then thread it into place. Now we'll torque it down in a second, but go ahead and put a little bit of Loctite on, thread this into place, go ahead and then pull the bolt out on the other side, put a little bit of Loctite in there and thread it back into place as well. Then we're going to torque down the nuts and these big 8mm Allens. Okay, so let me get my thread lock, we're going to get that done, and I'll show you torquing it down. All right, so once you have that Loctite on, you can add a little bit of load just by twisting until it gets snug. Okay, adds a little bit of pressure at both ends. Now here for your nuts, you're looking at 28 Newton meters, which were set here on your nuts. So make sure to torque all 4 of these down. So there's 28 there, 28 there, okay? So make sure then do 28 on the 2 on this side, and then you have in your center one here, you've got an 8mm Allen, and this is 32 Newton meters. So 28, 28, and 32. So go ahead and get all those torqued down, and then we're going to put the cross braces on next. All right, now that that's done, so let's talk about this a little bit. When you snug up the preload here, you don't have to go crazy on it. You can just twist it till it gets tight. And this really is a change in philosophy when you think about the bar. So the OEM bar just sits in here straight, and it puts all of the pressure and all of the function on the bolts themselves. This is pushing outward, right? It's trying to make it as rigid as possible when you start, but you don't have to go crazy on this. Just twist it a little bit to make it snug. We're gonna snug up these nuts when we're finally done, okay? But now we just wanna repeat the same thing on the cross braces. I'll show you on one side. Again, just shorten it up like you did before. Now, depending on your intake, you might have differences in clearing space, okay? But just go ahead and take it, and we're gonna use one side just to help hold it in place. So again, I'm using the black bolt, so I'm just gonna put it in there, just enough to hold it. Then we get to this side, and we check our fitment. Looks like we're a little bit short. No, actually that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad, okay? So I'm just gonna make sure that this one is right on spot to get in, and we're gonna do the same thing. So go ahead and put a little bit of thread lock on the bolt on this side, and then snug it down. Don't torque it down yet. Pull this bolt back out, put thread lock on this side, do the same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna torque all of this down, okay? So go ahead and get the cross braces in, all the bolts in, and then we're gonna get them torqued down. All right, y'all, so now that these are all in, and again, you just preload them by just getting them snug, and then you want to torque everything down. So go ahead and torque down your center bolt. That is actually 56 Newton meters. This is that 13 millimeter, okay? So there's 56. And then I think I might a second ago said 32 on these. They're actually 34, okay? So 28 on the nuts, so get the nuts on both sides, and then 34 on these. And then again, snug these down, just snug it and tight, and we're going to tighten the nuts down here in a second as well. But go ahead and get all of that torqued down. All right, so now that that's all done, we're going to want to snug up these retaining nuts here on each end. Now, Kies is cool enough to actually provided wrenches to actually get this done, because you're going to hold, with the big wrench, you're going to hold the center portion, and then you're going to use the small wrench to tighten up the nut, right? And so make sure that you do it on each end. Now, if they're a little bit loose like this one, you can just spin it into place. Just get them close, spin them all nicely into place so they're easy. It just takes a little bit of a turn to get it done. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is don't go crazy on this. You don't have to crank these down super hard. These are literally just hand tight. So hold the big one, get the little one on the nut, and then just snug, just like that. It is literally just hand tight. Let me switch hands here really quick. Grab this one, get this one into place. Just literally that tight. Okay, so make sure to get them all the way around, and at that point, you're done. Good job. All right, so one thing I want to show as we wrap up here, because really the only thing we need to put back are the plastics. Well, these upper plastics are dependent on this cover because they hold right here, okay? So, and I've put 2 of the plastic rivets back here to help hold it into place. So I've settled it all back down into place, but this new bracket's a little bit bigger. The ends are a little bit bigger than what you had before, of course, right? Because before it was just completely flat. So as you can see, it sits down fairly well, but it still tips up on this corner, especially across the center brace right here. So you really have a couple of choices. One, you could just put your plastic rivets back in and call it good. This top part is squishy, and I don't think it's going to do any damage or have any issues up against your hood. Your other option would be, if you wanted, is to just very carefully cut back and basically cut this bulge off. Now, don't cut the squishy part, but just right here where the edge comes back, cut around so it now sits down and would sit flush with the bracket. You could potentially do it on this side. You could also potentially do it on this side as well, though this front one sits much better. But I'm probably going to leave as is for now, but I wanted to make sure to point it out to you because it does sit a little bit differently, and this piece is dependent for your back plastics here, right? So I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to leave it as is. If I find that it sits at all funny or is causing any issues, I'm going to very carefully scallop off this outer bolt cover, this outer nut cover right here, because it doesn't fit quite right anymore, okay? But make sure to get that all squared away. Should be really straightforward, as you can see. Just get your plastic rivets back in on both sides. Set your covers back into place. They have little hooks on the back. They just lock down and in like that with this locking key, and you're good to go. All right, so go ahead and get that all wrapped up, cleaned away. Go ahead and put your tools away. You're all done. All right, y'all, so go ahead and clean up and put your tools away, and I'm so excited to have this in my car. I mean, I can't stand the factory strut brace. I mean, the F series, the F80s were so good, and the OEM one and the G80s are not great. So I knew the moment that I was going to get a new M2 that I wanted to have this strut brace in my car, and I'm really grateful to Brian. I reached out to Brian at Kies Motorsports, and I'm like, I gotta have one of these for my car, and I'm excited to get this installed, and you should do the same too. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It genuinely makes a difference to my channel, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.